Hey y'all, and welcome to another Shin Megami Tensei tier list. I'm Jonny Wanzer, and today we'll be looking specifically at SMT's beloved spin-off series Persona, where this time we'll be going over the best optimal endgame builds for the bonus bosses in each game's Velvet Room. Now each meta build will be based off of every game's hardest difficulty, and I do want to note that for Persona 5 specifically, we will be going off a hard mode instead of merciless, as merciless is technically easier than hard mode because there's actually a 3x technical damage output on attacks in merciless compared to the 1.5 on hard, and hard has a balanced 1.2x bonus on golden XP. I know it's not the case on some bosses that hit with technicals, but for most of the run, hard mode is the choice. Now we'll be basing this off of completing the game's most optimal social links, and I know you'll be tempted to complete your favorite confidants, but luckily, as a Makoto, Mitsuru, and Yukiko guy myself, you'll be able to complete most of the worthwhile stories in the process. Now we'll also be incorporating skill cards, shuffle time arcanas, and network fusions, but I'll show you exactly what you need to do to manipulate the RNG percentages in your favor, since I promised to do that in my GoFundMe campaign last year. And with the unbalanced DLC personas off the table, I want to start the list off with Persona 5 Royal by going over the confidants that should be worked on immediately to defeat Lavenza. You'll first want to pump up Ryuji to rank 7, where you'll unlock insta-kill, allowing you to instantly win battles after a successful ambush to shadows under your level. You should be able to grind through the first in-game calendar month or so to get this. Next, you'll want to focus on Yusuke's arc, but you'll only need rank 1, as it unlocks duplicating skill cards. Next, you'll want to max out Makoto's arc, as she's a healer with the best offensive attacks. She becomes available after Kanashiro's palace with 3 levels in knowledge. As a side note, make sure to max out Maruki in order to unlock the 3rd semester's royal content, as the shadows in his bonus palace are the highest you can demon negotiate in order to fuse some of the strongest personas in the game. From here, you'll be able to unlock fusions for Lucifer, Maria, and even Satin Nile. Now, let's go over a topic that's been heavily requested in my comments. Yeah, that one. I think we're in the clear now. While researching why Burlington's crime, homelessness, and drug use have seemingly grown to uncomfortable levels, one name kept popping up in the comments of forums, news articles, and social media posts, deemed heavily responsible specifically due to their catastrophic catch-and-release policy, as well as their light sentences for criminals. A powerful boogie woman by the name of Sarah George. And as a longtime local, well acquainted with our state shenanigans, I legit asked myself, who the fuck is Sarah George? As I hung out in my dining room one evening, I thought to myself, damn, is she really this responsible? Cause if so, then like, fuck this person. Excited that I might finally have such a definitive answer, as I'm not exactly thrilled about the state of downtown myself, I started researching who the hell she was, by first revisiting comments from Reddit threads, Facebook groups, and a certain Instagram account seemed to be a little butthurt about my last video, who ended up posting cringe-ass V for Vendetta pics a day later like it was 2011 Tumblr, vaguely implying revenge towards me. I guess in an embarrassing attempt to glue their emasculated ego back together. But anyways, I started reading the comments and oh boy. Starting from at least 2002-ish, people from all sides of the political spectrum were as brutal as they were confident. Whether it was stolen cars, public drug use, retail thefts, or repeat offenders immediately released back on the streets, most people were positive it was her fault, calling for her resignation, listing shady actions in her personal life, and some either wishing or, well, you know, threatening to unalive her in Minecraft. Oh, and apparently she also bullied tourists and residents off her family's lake permanently in order to jet ski in private. What is she, on some fucking Disney movie villain type shit? Alright. But while I was reading these, one thing was really interesting. Besides this video clip posted a few times of her from Harvard in 2017 saying she went to law school to dismantle the criminal legal system, most of these comments were just simple quick comments without sources, articles, or evidence to solidify what they were claiming. But I'm probably just out of the loop because, I mean, regardless, if this many people on both sides are blaming her, then she must be the fucking problem. I've probably just missed some shit. shit. There's gotta be some damning article out there. So that's when I looked up some news articles, where I finally learned she's currently the state's attorney of Chittenden County. Well, no wonder I've never fucking heard of her. Oh, come on now. There's no fucking way you knew who the state's attorney of Chittenden County was until we all saw her name posted everywhere 2 years ago. Kind of like H-1B visas. Till this opportunist grifter piece of shit in need of the Luigi hand service accidentally showed he's in favor of them to basically employ indentured servants instead of paying Americans properly. Oh, you always knew and cared what those were. Oh, and some loud populist didn't tell you? My bad, man. Well, I guess the fucking Snalbin school system has failed me once again. Sorry, my bad. Well, for my other buttfuck academy alums who don't know what a state's attorney actually does, according to this overcomplicated ass chart I found on Vermont.gov, they're a publicly elected leader of a team of prosecutors representing a county's government, responsible for ensuring justice in criminal cases. So that's like murders, drug dealing, child abuse, carjackings, store thefts, mental health stuff, other video demonetizing terms. Basically, if you break a law, they're the lawyer representing the state on the other side of the courtroom, trying to convince the judge and jury to essentially fuck your shit up, while also working with cops and social services, all within pre-established state and federal laws. They're like the middleman between the cops who arrest you and the courts that jail you. The question I had now was, what kind of state's attorney / politician is she? Well, after reading several news articles, her Wikipedia page, and a documentary cataloging her last campaign, I learned she's a Democrat who's held this position since 2017, outspoken for having an unconventional progressive mindset for the position, focused specifically on reforming the criminal justice system through things she personally stated, like not seeking cash bails from people with lower incomes, to being against pretextual traffic stops for non-public safety reasons, which, clarification for my fellow Snalbins buttfucks, it's like when a cop stops you for expired plates or a broken headlight and there's nothing else suspicious going on, but rather than just issuing a ticket and leaving, they use that stop to search your vehicle for potential offenses like drugs and shit. It's technically lawful, but some consider it problematic due to its potential for racial profiling or actually starting the cause of an unlawful disruption. Okay, so is she abusing this position for some militant leftist agenda by letting most criminals go? You know, this outline of her politics seems pretty damning, as it matches up quite comfortably to the complaints folks have about her. Uh-oh. This comment says her campaign was funded by George Soros. Yeah! Okay, so her catch and release policy for most criminals. I mean, that seems like it would be highly unethical and downright fucking illegal, right? Because when I think back to that stupid convoluted chart that explains her job, where she operates within pre-established state laws, I'm thinking, wouldn't this have gotten her disbarred or removed from office? And no comments or articles that I had read up to this point specifically addressed this. Well, that's when I decided I wanted to get to the bottom of this Sarah George hellscape with a video. Well, shit, might as well tease my followers I'm doing this. This won't bite me in the ass. So let's start with her light progressive sentences. So like I said, she'd still have to stay within those pre-established state and federal laws, right? She is a lawyer after all, so wouldn't she lose her ability to practice if she broke those laws? Well, while the State Bar Association or the Vermont Supreme Court could either suspend or revoke her license, there's technically no requirement for an elected state attorney to have a law license. So she wouldn't have to resign. So technically, we could all vote in Mike Reynolds in 2026 and embrace true chaos. Someone actually told me he's apparently fucking goated at chess with records and shit. I don't know though. It's hard to find anything on that hobby online due to the 1,000 news articles covering his other hobby. Speaking of not finding shit, I couldn't find any news articles of Sarah ever losing her law license or any official attempts to revoke it. So what would happen if she didn't follow those laws? Well, not only could a defendant possibly appeal their conviction, potentially leading to a new trial or dismissal of charges, the Attorney General of the state could also step in to carry the charges if she doesn't. And for my Penisburg balls folks, that's like a state's attorney for the entire state. Well, I didn't really find anything about her actually breaking laws. I did, however, discover that in 2019, the governor made the Attorney General step in on 3 different murder cases at the same time she had dropped the charges on, due to each suspect's defense lawyers providing significant evidence to their legally insane defense. But we'll get back to that in a bit. As a side note, because she is an elected official, in order for her to actually get booted from office, folks would have to petition their county's House reps to introduce impeachment. Then that shit would have to get a majority to pass it in order for the Senate to have a trial to complete it. Basically, it's long, political, and rarely successful. Yeah. Your typical Vermont government incompetence. They tried to change the Vermont Constitution to make it easier to do, but yeah. Besides finding a Change.org petition to remove her from office, I couldn't find any official attempt to impeach her. So yeah, to recap, while I did find that Attorney General situation in 2019, since then, there hasn't really been anything about someone officially trying to revoke her license or impeach her. And I found that it's happened to other states' attorneys during her tenure, but she's the most infamous state's attorney, right? So, is the rest of the government just turning a blind eye? There's gotta be something. Looks like people are stoked I'm covering this. Confused on the situation, would love more info, take down that stupid. Well, alright. I mean, she seems pretty fucking terrible so far. Regardless, I'm just glad people want me to do this. Seems like it's gonna be an easy win-win for everyone. Okay, so let's say if she's not technically breaking laws, is she just exploiting weak ones? These comments here are saying she has special powers to either work around, change, or create laws. Okay, now that's interesting, but I didn't see that on Vermont.gov. Okay. Let's go a bit deeper. But after 2 excruciating hours of glazing over the Vermont Constitution and casetext.com, I succumbed to my tiny attention span, exacerbated over time due to the ever-growing dopamine-feeding algorithms of billionaire oligarchs.
I'm Elvis, I'm in Creole, I see the evil Eggman. I got to stop his big plan, free all them animal critters, oh my god.
But after remembering from my childhood a great meditation technique to focus,
I got a pretty I got a fuck up! No one asked for your fucking boyfriend to get in here. Go freaking masturbate against the chair!
I found my inner strength and called a state rep I knew, who confirmed what I had mostly read before the brain rot, that the laws can only be changed or created by state legislators or national politicians. State reps also regulate the courts within their jurisdiction, which means they determine the type of cases that can be heard, set the court fees, and regulate the attorney's conduct. They also told me there's a special rules committee within those legislators that specifically address these laws she has to follow. Oh yeah, and the state rep, believe it or not, but not everybody wants to be featured on the Johnny Wanzer Fun Time Hour here. Free all them animal critters. Okay, so she can't create or change laws. So, like I said before, maybe she's exploiting them or has some special powers within the law. Oh wow, a lot of DMs. This is awesome. Where's the video? She's running Burlington. Post the video now. I want her fucking dead. Don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Okay. Seems people are a little extra passionate about this. Well, I guess they just want answers too, huh? Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna slow down and take my time with this one. Piece of cake. So, okay, even if she's exploiting laws, isn't it ultimately up to the judge to decide the sentence? So, are they just accepting her weak sentences? Is she paying them off with Soros' money? Well, after getting in contact with a judge who follows me, who, and you won't believe it, also didn't want a cool feature on the Johnny Wanzer shit show. They told me this: while judges don't have control of which charges the state's attorney brings against a defendant, they do have a say in the sentences of said charges brought to them. And they, or a jury, ultimately decide to pass the sentence. So for example, let's say Sarah brings the judge a charge of, let's say, assault and robbery, which Vermont state law says can have a maximum sentence of 10 years. But Sarah advocates for a sentence of 8 years. The judge can't change the charge of assault and robbery, but can either accept or change the sentence of the 8 years she's advocated for. Okay, so remember, I didn't find any articles of her officially getting in trouble for bad charges. At least post 2019 after the Attorney General thing, which we will get back to. So, is it the sentences Is she just lowballing weak sentences to judges and they're just accepting these sentences? So by that logic, shouldn't we be equally upset with the judges too? Well then, we should definitely check. Jesus, again with people asking for this fucking video? You know, I don't think I've ever gotten this much hype for a topic before. Alright, where's the video? She should fucking die. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Don't fuck it up. Wait, why are they commenting this shit on my other videos? A bit fanatical about this shit, huh guys? I mean, I get it. It seems like she's pretty terrible, but ultimately my goal is to just find clarification and actual answers to this shit. So hopefully these folks are open to whatever I find. It seems like they were, though some of these people seem pretty fucking dead set on their opinions here. Well, hopefully with whatever I find, this fanaticism doesn't translate to me. Okay. I just gotta take extra careful time on making this. It definitely needs to be handled way more gingerly than what I'm used to doing. Maybe I should change my format for this one. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. Okay, I got a new format in mind and I think it'll be good, so let's think here. The charge is on her. The sentencing is too, but ultimately passed by the judge and jury at their discretion. And that one judge also told me they both have to follow pre-established state and federal laws for the charges and sentences. But I didn't find any article or detailed comments on her breaking these established laws. Just people upset either with the outcome of the sentences or not being charged at all. Fuck, man. What am I missing? In these goddamn comments, man. I get it, guys. I'm trying. So at this point, I was a little stressed about making this video. So I decided to take a break and have a drink to ponder the next step, but okay, so I know I'm doing little stupid skits to generally show you what happened to me while making this, but in my real actual life here, I legit had some person crash out on me over this at the bar.
Yeah, okay, dude.
So one night I was stepping outside on my own when someone I didn't know intercepted me at the door with a group of friends and asked questions about the upcoming video. I probably said about like 2 sentences tops. And mind you, I didn't share a single personal opinion on Sarah or defend her. Just basically like the start of the info that the judge had told me. And it immediately set some shit off in their head. They abruptly started yelling at me, didn't let me finish my incomplete 2 sentences, and then demanded that I leave their group.
Yeah, this never happened.
Mind you, this person stopped me in front of a door, which we were still at, by the way, and asked me a question. I swear to you, I barely said shit. It was fucking weird, and not the only weird situation I've had surrounding this. When I tell you people are fucking weird and sensitive about this woman, I'm not exaggerating. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird.
Oh, boo-hoo, fuckface.
Anyway, since that didn't really help alleviate the stress that was building around this video, that situation was legit the moment I decided to delay my video. I thought if some folks are this sensitive about her, to the point they're accosting me about her in public, for me merely wanting to cover it, and I hadn't even put it out yet, not to forget the daily unbridled fervor people were displaying in my DMs and comments, just hungry to hate on this woman, I really needed to rethink my approach to this video. I mean, I knew I was trying to take a neutral look at this, but I was starting to worry that some people set in their ways, regardless of what I find, wouldn't be able to see my approach to this beyond their unwavering rage and settled opinions, and would just look for what they wanted to see in this video. Even if I clearly didn't care or support her at the end of it, if I said one wrong thing, I could be associated with this woman's reputation forever, and that was starting to scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, no one cares.
Okay, I just need to take a step back from this stupid fucking video and focus on a different one. Maybe I should beta test that new format on something else first. So, after trying a new format with a different topic and it going over relatively well, I felt a renewed sense of confidence in picking up the video topic again. So alright, let's put the sentences on hold for now and focus specifically on these criminals being caught and released immediately. If she's not breaking the law, then that would mean something's happening way before a case even gets to a court, let alone in front of a judge's ruling, right? Folks here are saying she doesn't even charge people or drops charges before they go to court. So that's the main thing we gotta figure out here. Okay, cool. So I guess my main question is there some step in the legal process where she can catch and release people? Well, in order to figure this out, I journeyed through our magical legal process by talking to a lawyer, that previous judge, that state rep, the Vermont state website, casetext.com, and I just emailed her. I just emailed Sarah. She's a publicly elected official, so you can just email her from the Vermont state website. About any case, too. They're all public records. I'm not sure if any of the commenters have done this prior to commenting shit. I didn't really come across anyone saying it, at least. But yeah, her contact was super easy to find, and she responded like the next day. In fact,
hello.
She let me interview her. Oh, hold on. Okay, you see, this is the shit I was worried about. Now some fucking troglodytes are saying I'm a pro-Sarah simp and I'm soft on her? What the fuck is happening right now? Again, no video yet, no public statement about her yet. Okay, it's time I talk to some of you directly.
Oh man, just get back to the fucking topic.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Washing Dishes with Jonny Wanzer. So first of all, I don't really fucking care for any politicians. Democrats, Republicans, progressives, you're all pretty much self-serving fucking garbage people to me. Watch any of my videos and you'd pick up on that. Let alone would I ever simp for an officer of the court, cause, spoiler alert, I'm not the biggest fan of law enforcement either. And yes, she's in law enforcement. Her position is literally meant to enforce the law. I would have hoped my white trash tooth situation here, at bare minimum, would have been the dead giveaway. That I don't fuck with cops or courts, bud. Again, I'm pretty neutral on this topic. I don't know a tremendous amount about her yet, and I'm trying not to let unsourced comments dictate that knowledge for me. My only priority here is to find information to some ambiguous shit surrounding this, and ultimately, let you decide what to do with that information for yourself. You've got less of my opinions, I'm showing you the actual path to my research, and I've tried taking the time to do this carefully and correctly. Also, the emotional weight people have on this topic is not lost on me.
Where's the video, Johnny?
Trust me.
Where's the fucking video?
Trust me.
I want her dead. I fucking hate her. Get her.
I get it. Regardless of any stupid shit that I've said in a past video that you don't agree with, that's put me in some preconceived default blueprint of what you feel a person like me thinks about any topic before you've heard me say it, or you're unable to give me the benefit of the doubt of ever progressing my craft here in amateur edutainment video essays. Right here, this video, me give you info, you decide. And if you don't understand any of what I just said, replay this whole section until you're not a fucking idiot anymore. Okay, thanks. Oh my god. Are you ever gonna get back to the fucking topic again? Yo, man. Oh, are you watching the new Wanzer video? Yeah, but he's been fucking crying about dumb comments and made the shit about himself for like 8 minutes now. Oh, yeah, he does that, but he ties it into some shit about the topic in the end. He should have just cut like most of that shit out. Oh, yeah, totally. I don't think this skit here is really helping. Oh, for sure, this was not needed. Like, it's not even funny. Totally. This self-referential shit? No, not at all. It's creatively bankrupt. But he's gonna keep dragging this out? I think you're almost at the good part. I fucking hate this. You know, I think he personally finds that aspect funny. I think that's the point. So you're gonna keep dragging this out? Okay, so our main question is this. Is there some step in the legal process where Sarah can catch and release criminals immediately? Well, the best way to figure this out is to take you through the legal process chronologically. So I compiled info from the Vermont state website, casetext.com, talking to a lawyer, a judge, that previous state rep, and a police officer. Now, with that said, I've added additional interview clips with Sarah that act as her own commentary to the info I got from other sources. So that means take her words as you will. Oh, and I gotta do the translation for the CVU river rats out there. Info I tell you, not from Sarah. From other sources. Info Sarah say, you decide. Unga bunga go Red Hawk. Oh shit, the green screen.
Oh god, not this shit.
You know, I've kinda missed it.
Finally. Oh god fucking damn it.
Okay, so number one in the legal system. Donnie's committed a crime, but I ain't fucking do it. Let's say he broke into Zachary's Pizza, stole their safe deposits, cash register, somehow boosted that Jurassic Park car gun game, and 3 slices of their small red dog. What the hell? And I know what you're thinking. That safe's got like fucking $200 tops. But uh-oh, whoops, my boy Killian's working the door at Higher Ground and sees Donnie struggling to steal Killian's favorite game at Killian's favorite lunch break spot. So now, oops. Donnie's now in his weekly meeting with his best buds. No, I'm fucking fixing it and putting it back, bud. They fucking hired me. Which leads us to number 2. The police investigate the crime and collect evidence. Well, clearly he did this shit, which leads him to number 3, being arrested. Here's a very critical part, so pay attention. I don't like how condescending he always is. I like Donnie. If the police have enough evidence, like catching him with the Jurassic Park machine, or probable cause, like telling his buddy on Facebook he's gonna steal the Jurassic Park machine, Donnie could either be A, arrested and held into a correctional facility until his arraignment trial, or he could B, issued a citation and released until his arraignment trial, which an arraignment trial is where he'd officially be charged for the crime in court, not to be confused with the conviction trial where he'd get his sentence and possibly go to jail. So now the question is, who or what decides on whether Donnie gets A, held on bail, or B, issued a citation until his arraignment trial? I'll give you all a quick guess at home. Easy. Sarah George. Donnie funny. Well, if you guess it starts with our laws, you'd be correct. Specifically, Title 13, Section 7551/VTR Crim P.3. If the officer that arrested Donnie thinks the crime that he did was so egregious that he should be A, held on bail until his arraignment trial, then it's up to a judge to decide to hold him until his arraignment trial, as the police can only legally hold him in their custody without a judge for a couple days. The thing is, A, held on bail, is mostly reserved for people who commit violent crimes. So your car thefts, open drug use, retail thefts, disorderly conduct, and the clickbait media's favorite, repeat offenders of non-violent misdemeanor crimes. They can't really be held unless they were violent or currently pose a violent threat. But even if Donnie was A, held on bail, if he's not a murderer or considered a violent threat, the law entitles him to be released after 60 days until his arraignment trial. So in this case, since Donnie's crime doesn't fit the Title B law to be A, held on bail, the police have to B, issue him a citation until his arraignment trial.
Some of that is the discretion of the police. A lot of it is our laws, that police are following the law.
And that is exactly what we're seeing right now with a good amount of these repeat offenders. But we'll cover that a little bit more later. He's defending Sarah George indirectly. Nah. He gets to her. Bro, he's using the subplot of me to deflect his criticisms. I'm just relieved I'm not entirely typecasted. As a side note caveat, once that citation has been officially issued, Donnie cannot legally be held anymore for that specific crime until his arraignment trial. And fun fact, most suspects for most crimes in the state of Vermont, not just Chittenden County, are released in this fashion after being arrested, which again is B, issued a citation and released until their arraignment trial. The citation and release could be at the scene of the crime, a couple hours after being at the police station, or it could be within those couple of days the police can legally hold them. Okay, now, once Donnie is officially either A, held on bail, or B, issued a citation, then the police file the paperwork and send it to, yes, the state's attorney office, aka Sarah and her team of prosecutors. Now here's where the state's attorney officially comes in. This is number 4, pre-arraignment. Now that Donnie's back on the streets, the police submit the paperwork of his crime to the state's attorney office, aka the SAO. Then the SAO, following Vermont laws, decides if there's enough probable cause to charge Donnie and what criminal offenses to charge him with based on the the evidence that is provided to the SAO from the police. The SAO doesn't investigate cases or take statements, only the police do. The SAO matches the crime with the law and charges accordingly, with discretion on how much of that sentence will be used within what they're legally allowed to do. Then it's filed with the court. So let's dig deeper into this process. If there wasn't enough evidence collected at the crime from the police, or there isn't enough probable cause to charge accordingly, the SAO then have the power to drop the charges, but only if the law states they can. And no, they don't need a judge to approve this. So my question is she purposely ignoring probable cause and evidence provided to her in order to drop cases? Well, I first asked the source. Sarah, in her own words, offered some insight into this paper filing process from the police to her office. So yo, my CVU River Rat homies, this is the part where you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna believe her or not. Dude, we get it. Stop with the fucking deflection shit and own your words. Wait, it's her words though, right? Am I still the dumb guy typecast? She states that some specific officers, and made it clear to state not all of them, are issuing citations 6 months after their arrests. If that's true, it would mean she doesn't get the paperwork to legally do anything until then. And that criminal, who could have already been covered by the news or police statements, would be on the street for an additional 6 months before the process to even wait for an arraignment trial begins. I asked her, well, our police are understaffed, right? So do they just not have the manpower to get things to you fast enough? According to Sarah's words, she says those specific officers who don't file for 6 months have it out for her for a couple reasons. The first one being that she's written 13 Brady letters, which is a notification sent to the defense attorney or the criminal on trial, informing them the police officer involved in the case has credibility issues, such as a history of dishonesty and misconduct, which that letter could be used to impeach the officer's testimony in court. The other reason she says that specific officers delay cases to her office is that they don't like the way she generally talks about the legal system. So because I can't verify this claim, I will, yes, leave it to you. He said he doesn't like law enforcement. Remember when he was washing the dishes? Bias, 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 bias. Sarah, in her words, adds that sometimes she actually sends some cases back to the police for more probable cause because she feels they send her shit cases on purpose to make her drop cases. Again, it's up to you to decide if you want to believe that. But we'll circle back to this later and fact check it with cases that you guys actually provided to me. What I tell you about the police, it's very clear what he thinks. I actually think he's being too soft on them. Now, this is also the time the SOA can advocate for alternative outcomes, like for mentally unstable suspects or juveniles to either be released to a responsible adult, an outside program, or court diversion. But here's the deal with that I found on the Vermont state website. Not only are these alternative outcomes heavily restricted by the law, the court ultimately decide this fate. The SOA can only advocate for it as an alternative sentence, much like in that attorney general thing I mentioned before. And yes, I promise we will get to that. I got a whole section for cases. Additionally, waiting for an available psychiatrist to evaluate the criminal's mental state can also add to the wait time. So getting back to the timeline, if Donnie was A, held on bail, the SAO, by law, has to decide what to charge and set an arraignment court date within 48 hours, aka 1 business day. But because he was B, issued a citation, the SAO takes about 10 business days to decide, which is about 2 weeks. Now, this pre-arraignment limbo where people on Reddit are complaining that Donnie's now out stealing catalytic converters, waiting for his arraignment court date. Bud, run your fucking mouth on Reddit, don't care. Mikey Reynolds and I fucking... This typically lasts 4 weeks until the court date, but according to Sarah, it's about 8 to 10 weeks at the moment, due to a back catalog caused by COVID delays from the courts being closed for almost 2 years, and her team being understaffed to handle this backlog. As of the end of 2024, she told me her office has about 3,000 cases pending all the way back to 2021.
Criminal cases, so that doesn't include fishing game and the tickets and the family court stuff. And about 950 to 1,000 of those are considered backlog that are still lagging from COVID.
She says they're attempting to get through them, but the state only gives them 3 actual trial days a month. They're adding to the backlog quicker than they're taking from it, and says that's just one reason why people have been able to accumulate more charges than in past years.
We have 10 attorneys, including myself, tackling those, and the odds are not in our favor. Some people have over 400 cases pending.
In fact, this 2024 Vermont Public article corroborated her 3,000 case story, adding that the entire state's backlog has swelled to 15,000 cases, double the pre-pandemic norms, and that 37 judges have retired since then, further slowing things down.
Something a lot of people don't understand is that the courts around Vermont closed on March 16th, March 20th, whatever, 2020. They didn't reopen fully until September 6th of 2022. The Judiciary, the Supreme Court, extended our sort of COVID shutdown over a year longer than the rest of the state. That meant no trials.
For almost 2 years.
For over 2 years. It was an incredible impact on our system. We essentially halted. We did what we could to resolve cases, the backlog, and those cases just kept piling up, waiting for the courts to reopen.
And you're still playing catch up with that.
Oh, yeah. And that's also all over the state. A lot of conversations in the State House this year are to try to get through the backlogs in every county.
Oh, boo-hoo. I've been overworked and understaffed and gotten my shit done. Hell fucking yeah, bro. And same goes for the cops. No, wait. That's different. We need them to stop crime. Well, we need her people to lock up the criminals they stop, right? No, man, it's different. I liked it when you were the dumb guy. Me too. I liked it when I didn't know any of this shit.
When I play Sonic the Hedgehog, he doesn't have free will because I'm controlling him. But if I don't have free will either, is Sonic controlling me? Or is the universe playing Sonic the Hedgehog through my body?
Oh shit. Well, now we've reached number 5. Donnie, the accused, appears in court for his arraignment trial and is informed of the charges against him, not the final sentences. Victim statements can also be taken here. He can then enter a plea of guilty, not guilty, or no contest. I fucking told you I ain't do shit, but I was fixing it. It's also worth noting that cases can't proceed if the accused aren't present for their trial, adding additionally to the resolve time. Now, judges could issue arrest warrants to detain them so they do show, but if someone posts their bail, it can start this cycle all over again. But luckily, our guy showed up. If he pleads guilty, depending on the crime or judge, he could also go to jail right then to await his sentence. But since he pled not guilty, now we enter number 6, the pre-conviction trial limbo. Since Donnie was B, issued a citation, guess what? He's still free on the streets until the trial. Can't fucking keep me off these streets, bud. So, how long until his conviction trial? Misdemeanor conviction trials typically take 3 to 6 months from the arraignment trial. But Sarah says the COVID backlog now has it at about 6 to 9 months, while felony conviction trials, which typically took 6 to 9 months, are now at about 9 months to a year. And those felony conviction trials take longer because the statute, aka the law, allows defense attorneys longer to prepare. But here's another fun caveat. If Donnie was A, held on bail, he'd be entitled to a speedy trial, which she says is about 6 to 9 months at the moment. These times can vary depending on how the criminal pleads, the severity of the case, and the availability of the courts. Anyways, during this time, Donnie's defense lawyer and the SAO may negotiate a plea agreement, which is a legal arrangement where Donnie pleads guilty or no contest to his charges in exchange for concessions from the SAO, such as a more lenient sentence, a specific one, or dismissal of additional charges, which could lead to avoiding a conviction trial altogether by settling on a sentence or an extremely strict probation that could be reversed if broken. But since he pleaded not guilty, cause I ain't fucking do it, it's time for number 7, aka the conviction trial, aka the main shit you see on TV, where Donnie and witnesses testify in front of a judge and jury. Then they decide if the defendant is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, in which case he is. Then he's immediately sent off to prison. Donnie, we'll see you in 2 years, bud. Yo, tell my godson Kyle DeTilio I fucking love him. I'm doing this for him. Now, I know that was a lot, and I Fisher-priced some shit to an insulting level, but it's imperative to generally understand the system before we ask some important questions. You boys good? Nah, man. Metaphor Refantasio just came out, so I'm moving on to that. Oh, hell yeah. Fuck this shit. Dude, yeah, real. How long is this?
I've been in MIA so long, I think it's time to turn it on.
Fucking sick. Degenerate into something, fool. We getting tired of doing what you told us to do. Oh shit, I should take that green screen down. Oh, hey guys. Okay, let's tackle our first big question by recapping when people can generally be released back into public through the legal system. Okay, so on day one of the arrest, the police can just release them with no charge during the arrest if there's not enough evidence, only if it follows the law though, according to the judge and police officer that I talked to. So no Sarah yet. I know that's basic as fuck, but let's add it for posterity. There's probably some dumb fucking Morse who doesn't understand that. Number two, the police can issue them a citation to show for an arraignment trial, which allows them to be free on the streets until said arraignment trial, and in most cases until the conviction trial, because of the lock, no Sarah yet. Additionally, this is the most common way people are arrested in Vermont, according to that judge and police officer, as well as stats that I found on the Vermont state website. Now, about 10 days after the arrest, the SAO could drop the charges in that pre-arraignment trial limbo, but only if there isn't enough probable cause or sufficient evidence provided by the police. The SAO can only drop the case if the law allows them to. Sarah claims she rarely does this, and also claims she sends cases back for more evidence. But people online were adamant that this is what she always does. So we'll fact check some of her cases in a moment. At about 8 to 10 weeks after the arrest, past the arraignment trial during the pre-trial limbo, a plea agreement could technically allow all the charges to be dropped. But from what I'm told by the judge, this outcome is not that common, as plea agreements typically lead to more lenient sentences, specific sentences, or other smaller charges they got dropped around the main charge they had. Again, they often lead to charges being settled on and the sentences doled out there. Also, someone could be bailed out of prison as well while waiting for their trial. And finally, after about 6 months to a year after their arrest, the court could just not find them guilty. So those are all of the instances someone could get caught and released, or we're seeing them on the street at least in limbo. So, while it looks like number 2, issued a citation and release, seems to be the most common one. Number 3, Sarah fucking with the charges and sentences, is the one everyone online is saying she's doing to catch and release people constantly. So let's dive deeper into number 3. So as we do that, let's remember our main questions here. Is Sarah catching and releasing people? Is she constantly suggesting late sentences to judges? Is she consistently dropping charges as soon as cases reach her from the police? Well, the best way to find this out is to definitively check her records through her cases, since they're all public. So I asked my followers to send me any person in case, and I check every single one of them with a lawyer, a judge, and this website. So in a lightning round style, let's go through all of them. Oh shit, I actually forgot to research them. Hold on. Okay, that's not switching goddamn. Okay, here we go. Now we got this going. Yeah, and they got back to me, so I need to get this shit in what here. The fuck? Okay, I gotta make sure I grab all this stuff. Dude, this place is a fucking pigsty. I know, man, but I don't care. I need to finish this goddamn video. It's been way too long, and people keep asking me in my DMs, so it's just... I gotta grab this over here. Okay. That, and then we just start there. Oh, hey. All right, gang. Let's start off with the fan favorite, Patrick Ibison. Got multi-misties within a few years. Hype train started carrying when he racked up a few B&Es at Crew Coffee in 2024. Clean record before COVID. So, because his crimes were non-violent and he always showed up to court, no basis to be held without bail pre-trial. However, a judge eventually held him on bail for 6 months and was sent recently to a residential treatment facility in shitty upside down Vermont, New Hampshire. So that means not on the streets. I would do the second part of their state motto if I lived there. Yeah, that's valid. So as we figure out the street statuses, it's worth noting that folks are upset by weak sentences of hospitalizations, treatments, and probations not being an effective measure to curb repeat offenders, as opposed to straight incarceration. So we'll take notes and we'll circle back later. In Patrick's case, we have yet to see if it hasn't worked as he's in it right now. But anyways, okay. Next up, we got Rocky Raccoon. Rassicot. Okay, now Rocky Rassicot racked multi-misties, weren't eligible for pre-holding trial. Stop. The hype train then cared when he fought with his partner, and she jumped out his moving truck and he tried to run her over. Extremely poor taste. Nah, man, let him cook. Alright, so since his partner kept retracting and submitting her statement to the court, it was hard to hold him legally pre-trial. Then, Sarah ultimately helped him get convicted on domestic assault, simple assault, and criminal threatening, and is currently serving a jail sentence until 2028. I couldn't tell if he was out on furlough, but that would be on the DOC at this point. But most likely, not on the streets. Okay, number 3's got us Rob Thomas. Nope, Ron Thomas. Bro, these fucking dollar store music names are tripping me up. So, this case a hot one. Yo, these are real people, man. Okay, Gladys from Ferrisburg owns a fucking yoga studio on Pine Street. Are you good? Maybe you should take a break, man. Maybe you should suck my donkey, bud. Okay, Ron Thomas. 2 dangerous car crashes that reveal potential drug dealing. Problem was, he's a backseat passenger in the first crash, so he only gets hit with drug possession, which, yes, not eligible for hold without bail. Also, no big priors. But was the driver in the second crash last October, held in prison since, awaiting trial. Hey, give me a not on the streets. Not on the streets. Okay, Anthony Seagroves. Very chill name. Wow. Not a chill dude though. Okay, we got burglary, stolen vehicles, a stolen gun, illegal drugs, charged with kidnapping. Oh, okay. So dude was actually charged federally, so he's been out of Sarah's hands in federal custody for several months now. So you know what that means. Not on the streets. All right, only 13 more to go. Bro, your mom has been trying to get a hold of you for weeks. Yeah, I know. I'll get back to her in a bit. I just gotta... Yo, dude! You're ignoring this person as well? Yeah, but they'll understand. Yeah, but do you? God, you're so fucking annoying. Yo, you were right, man. I liked it when he was the dumb one. You're the one writing the fucking script, dude. Okay. Okay, alright, now we got Steve Orlango. Oh man. This was the dude with the hit and run that killed Birdman. Oh yeah, the dude with the crazy bikes, right? He used to have this funny ass fucking song that was something like, hipster kids at the radio being like pets and dogs. Man. Rest in peace to a real BVT legend. Anyways, Steve had a long record prior to Sarah's tenure, only racking a misty DUI charge within her tenure. But he's been in jail ever since the hit. Sarah was actually in favor of keeping him held without bail, fighting his attorney on that. It looks like they might end up having a contested sentencing. The judge will decide that or a trial. And Sarah is currently asking for a long incarcerated sentence. So, not on the streets. Is anyone doing any research on this shit? They probably just don't know how to, man. I didn't. Yeah, well, they're fucking wasting my time. I mean, you offered to do this. Yeah, I'm well aware of the prison I've built myself here. Hey, finish the fucking video, bro. Right, up on deck we got Bobby Bethune, Rocky Raccoon. What the fuck is happening right now? I was always more of a George guy. I'm a distinguished Paul connoisseur myself. Ringo. His Pizza Hut commercial era though.
Lads, the time has come to eat our pizza crust first. Good idea, Ringo. Cool.
What a fucking G. Alright, Bobby Boy had a bunch of misty retail thefts pending, which... no basis for a hold, but rarely showed for court. So, a judge imposed a cash bail to hold him. Held for some time, pled guilty to a bunch of shit at the end of March, was released to a residential treatment, but unfortunately violated court terms by going on a crime spree that weekend and never showing up to treatment. So, he's back in jail, where Sarah in the SOA says he'll most likely stay for quite some time. So while he was sentenced to a treatment, we didn't have a chance to see it work for him. And while one might argue his skipping was the product of a weak sentence, that skip had tougher consequences that locked him up again, diminishing his chances of receiving the treatment sentence again. Regardless, he is not on the streets, but had a chance. So I guess that one's different. Kinda. Another one, huh? Dude, yeah, I know. Okay, let's see. We got Joshua Ganowski. Young one, 20 years old, 2 pending aggravated assault charges. The first one, the judge couldn't hold him because the evidence of guilt was insufficient. But after picking up the second one, Sarah moved to hold him without bail. The courts granted the motion, and he's been in jail since January, waiting for his trial at the end of May. So bros, we are not on the streets. Okay, entering the dining room gauntlet, we have Melody Phillips. Robbed a 72-year-old man at an ATM, then a 97-year-old man, then a business. Okay, she was held on bail, then was found incredibly mentally ill by a psychiatrist during pre-arraignment, deeming her not competent, and was sent to hospitalization for a decent amount of time. Oh! However, the Department of Health eventually determined she was no longer in need of hospitalization, then her cases were dismissed. Okay, seems like she is potentially on the streets. Y'all finally got one. However, it looks like nothing on the news so far. So while we don't know if that treatment sentence worked or not, there's no record of any crime from her since. So in terms of Miss Melody Phillips, we'll just have to keep Shorty, like a melody, in our heads and hope that the iPod is not stuck on replay. Yo, you guys remember Firewire 400? Shorty like a melody in my head that I can't keep hold of. Na 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 na, every day it's like my iPod stuck on replay. All right, Ashley Skidmore, come on down. You're the next contestant from the dining rooms. Multi-Misties, retail thefts, oh sorry, not eligible to be held pre-trial. But oh, what's this, Rod? She didn't show up to court, so the judge has gifted her a brand new hold for bail. Yo, should we do something about this? Which earned her a chance at the game of contested sentencing, in which she won the grand prize of incarceration, which she's still serving, not on the streets. He's talking about real people here. Have your pets spayed and neutered, motherfucker. Are you good? I'm fine, just 8 more to go. Bro, you should take a break. Fuck you, my kind sir. Get me another Arizona. And next up to bat for the dining roomers, sporting a few pending cases like resisting arrest, custodial interference, and most notably, an aggressive assault from slashing someone with a knife, it's number 10, Sean Dudley. The play says he was violent, but what's this? The judge did not hold him in prison until his trial, but check the replay, he was violent. Okay, the umpire is saying, apparently his victim was intoxicated, and while their unclear statements barely gave the courts probable cause, it's not enough for the judge to hold him before the trial. A strikeout for the Redditors indeed. Speaking of which, his pre-trial and trial is scheduled for June, so issued a citation on the streets awaiting for trial. Do. Hey man, nope. Johnny. La 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 la. Jesus Christ. La 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 la. Someone kill me, please. I just want to die. Dude, he's fucking losing it. We gotta do something. Nah, I like it. He's kind of on some Joker type shit right now. Someone kill me, please. I just want to die. Fuck you, ba ba ba. Do 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 do. Yeah, see, he's having fun. Do 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 do. La 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 la. Oh! Fuck yes. Boys, I'm excited. We got the big dog himself, our boy, Mikey fucking Reynolds, bud. Let's go. Okay. Mike Reynolds is known for having 1,800 police interactions. Not arrests per se, just anytime the boys in blue interact with him and have to write his name down, which is a whole other discussion, but regardless, 1,800 is insane. So, most of his charges? Well, with the exception of one non-violent felony, misdemeanors. You know what that means? No bars for him pre-trial. My man's on a mission to break records. Except, now he's behind bars. He currently is held on bail. But with the nature of so many charges stacking up, why did it take a judge this long? Well, aside from the level of his crimes not offering a basis to hold him, and he also showed up to court every time, another reason was he was repeatedly cited by opinion-based police statements, which are not supposed to be opinionated, by the way. Apparently, it compromised the court's integrity of due process offered by the Constitution. So basically, it tainted jury's opinions, but also fucked with the judge's ability to legally hold him for something, like a legal stick in the spokes, as the police were commenting on everything that he did weekly. Yo, we'll get back to those police statements later, but as of right now, surprisingly, not on the streets. I know, they finally got him. Damn. Additionally, he was recently found not competent by a psychiatrist. While the Department of Mental Health and his defense counsel are arguing he be supervised in the community on the streets, Sarah's office is actually advocating for him to be held hospitalized due to the absurdity of his history in the community. Yes, so a contested hearing on this issue is soon, and the courts will ultimately decide that fate. So, we'll just have to see what happens, and if he gets hospitalized, if it actually works. You know, I've always hated running into the guy, but a part of me is actually kind of bummed that he might not have a chance to break 2,000. Oh shit. We won't be able to vote him in as the next state attorney either. Now I'm sad. Well, another case, gentlemen. Okay. Alrighty. Averiel. Okay. No current pending charges. No news article. There is a Westford police captain named Averiel. No, that's not him. Oh, here. One charge for petty theft in 2020, put on probation, served until an early 2023 release. Notes say here the victim was not in support of the early discharge, but the statute, aka the law, requires midpoint discharge. So there was no legal basis for the court to not allow it. Okay, well, for a petty theft, seems pretty cut and dry. Okay, come on. I need one where Sarah really fucks up, guys. Okay. Let's try this one. David Raposa, charged for misdemeanor domestic assault against his sister, pled guilty to simple assault, no priors, no news. Okay, received a probation sentence with treatment requirements and to not contact his sister or else he'll go to jail. Still on probation, no record of breaking it. Okay, so was this submitted by someone related to him in this situation? And you think he should have went to jail instead? I mean, fair enough, but yeah, maybe this is just her being weak on sentences. I mean, I'll take note of it, but come on guys. I need one where she's actually fucking up, okay? All right. Rule Wheelock. Now that's a fucking name. That's like a fucking Star Trek name, like a powerful fucking alien man. All right, Rule, what do you got for me? Okay, what the fuck? This guy's got nothing in the system since like 2006. Who the fuck sent this to me? Sarah would have been like just barely out of college. All right, give me a fucking moment. Okay, so Sarah's telling me if he had a case come in that was dismissed, it could have been sealed or expunged, in which case she wouldn't have access to it. But she also doesn't see anything that indicated that happening either. So thanks to whoever fucking sent me that one. Thanks. Fucking run around in circles for hours for no fucking reason. Thanks, guys. Dude, I know you don't want to hear this, but this is the 5th time they've tried to get a hold of you. I will in a bit, okay? No, it's been like 3 weeks now. That's fucked. Stop! Okay? I have to finish this shit. And if I post something else, these little fucking babies are gonna be in my comments being like, where's the Sarah video? Where's the Sarah video? And since I'm not posting anything, now I'm some fucking villain who stole money. So as I'm working my ass off here, everything that I've previously worked for is going down the fucking gutter, okay? Are you starting to get it now, asshole? This shit has been hanging over my head for 9 fucking months. And I want it fucking gone. They'll understand, all right? So just leave me the fuck alone. Well, well. Nice crash out, fuckface. Reddit's gonna have a fucking field day with this one. So, let's recap. As you can see, most of these people weren't on the street. They were either awaiting their trials in jail, hospitalized, or were already convicted in prison, with the exception of the one dude on the street who's awaiting his trial next month. More notably, however, I didn't see any cases dropped from the state's attorney's office. They all had processed cases on file. So you're not gonna address that little crash out? That reaction is exactly what they want, bitch. In regards to the hospitalization or treatment facilities not rehabilitating repeat offenders, in terms of this list, either folks were still in treatment or they completed it without another criminal case in the courts or on the media, with the exception of one dude who skipped treatment, which immediately landed him back in jail as a consequence.
Generally speaking, I don't think our legal system is the place that we should be trying to solve our social justice issues. I don't think that people with major mental health issues or substance use issues are cured by going through our legal system. There's really significant evidence that it doesn't work and that it actually makes us all less safe. I also don't think that it is a form of punishment that has been proven to deter future crime. And again, I don't believe that because the evidence shows that. That doesn't mean, though, that I don't seek to put people in jail when I think it's appropriate. I am trying to do both. I am trying to work with our community to find alternative options, and I'm continuing to work in the system that we have because that's my job. Working in the system that we have because it's my job, it gets lost because the haters and the false information is so much louder. And frankly, because the media doesn't fully understand this alternative either. So it's easier for them to just push that same narrative that Burlington is exploding because they have a progressive prosecutor, instead of talking about the fact that actually like murders are up all over the state and that homelessness is on the rise across the entire state, that all of our communities are dealing with this stuff. But by focusing primarily on Burlington, I frankly think it's harmful for us as a community and as a state, because we're not finding solutions by just blaming things that aren't actually to blame.
But hey, this is just a small sample of people, and there could be outliners, but it's important to note, these were the most popular, lawless, egregious people that my follower base and the Burlington subreddit thought to submit to me, and these are the results.
So if police aren't responding to particular low-level offenses or are never sending them to us for whatever reason, I get angry emails from retailers occasionally, and they'll say, this person just stole from us again. Why aren't you doing anything? And when I look, we have one case for that person, one retail theft. And then I'll say, I don't have any others. And well, the police never came. Well, I can't prosecute a case that the police don't respond to. The reality is that people are entitled to their freedom. Our Constitution requires it. And that includes people who are committing criminal offenses. They are innocent until proven guilty, and our laws, not my policy, require that the courts issue conditions of release while those cases are pending. So people think that if they're in the community that I'm not prosecuting, or if they're in the community, it's because I released them.
Yeah.
Well, neither of those are true. It is never under any circumstances up to me or my office whether somebody is released. We can advocate for a particular outcome to some extent. I mean, again, the laws are pretty clear about people's right to be released into our community, their right to their freedom, but we could certainly advocate for a condition of release, maybe that they be released into the custody of a responsible adult, or if it's a violent felony, we have an ability to ask that they be held without bail, which we almost always do.
Look at all the people flocking to respond. The hate compiling. Look at all the people loving the real you. While I personally feel this was a decent litmus test, there can always be outliers that weren't submitted. So for those, if you find one, or you see a new post about a recent crime, here's how you can personally fact check a comment to see if Sarah has released this person back onto the streets. Number 1. Determine the crime. If it's a misdemeanor and there's no violence involved, then they were most likely issued a citation and they're back on the streets awaiting their arraignment trial. In the rare case they were held by the police for non-violent crimes, the police had to legally let them go after a few days if a judge didn't approve them to be held on bail going forward. Look at this new thread. Now you've ripped people off with your GoFundMe. How does that make you feel? Fuck off. If it was just a couple days ago and the suspect is still on the streets, then they're most likely in that pre-arraignment limbo, either waiting for their paperwork to be processed by the SAO or awaiting their arraignment trial. If it's been 2 weeks and the suspect is on the streets, then Sarah and her team have most likely determined a charge and are awaiting their arraignment trial date, and the criminal is waiting on said date. If you think she dropped the case, you can check it online here. Now, if it's been several months and they're still on the streets, the suspect most likely had their arraignment date and are waiting for their conviction trial. If it's been a couple years, they've most likely been convicted already. But you don't even have to guess or assume all this, because like I said earlier, to definitively find out, you can look for their name and a case number online or in a news article. You can check to see if the SAO have either pursued or not pursued charges, or if the suspect is just waiting for their arraignment or conviction trial. You can also see what the SAO hopes they'll be charged with, why, and when their court dates are. And finally, number 4, if you're feeling extra spicy, you can also email her. And you can also fact check her responses with the site provided, just like we did. Isn't it about that time of year to beg for more money, Mr. Grifter? I've done freelance work for the past year now. I don't rely on this platform for income anymore. Oh, but you didn't tell anybody. I actually did. What do you want? First it's get a real job, now I'm being dishonest. And this reminds me, as a bonus step, number 5, are they actually on the street? You know, sometimes, and you won't believe this, but sometimes, people just say shit. Hey, y'all remember my GoFundMe that reached 22K? Hey look, it's at 50K now, several months after it ended. Wow, that's neat. Hey look, apparently I spent it on something shady. Oh wow, that's also pretty neat. Oh, and I deleted all the videos I promised from it too. Oh wow, isn't that something? You know, sometimes people just say shit. That's what I want. There's the reaction we've wanted. To waste your fucking time. To discourage you. To turn everyone against you. To show them who you really fucking are. Ah, are you starting to get it now, asshole? Well then, I'll be in the next room doing Sonic the Hedgehog 3 speedruns if you need any more pep talks. Don't let the hate get to you, bud. Hey, man.
What? What the fuck do you want?
You got a letter here. That's it. You should probably read it. You were right. I know. The irony is, I don't even want to finish this shit anymore. I know. But you will. There's nothing I can do. No. It's a burden, but also an anchor. You'll learn how it holds you in place. You stuck on my knife like a glue. So what was best to do?
I'm a mess inside my God. Grief consumes you when you're armed. You still get splashed from shame regardless what you do. The hard winds of regrets blowing and chill you to the tooth. Now I'm sick with a fever. Sick, no reliever. Kill me, I'm the deceiver. I'm the receiver. Kill me, 'cause I'm the receiver. I wanna see her, but I can't retrieve her.
Oh, hey guys. I feel like I should apologize for calling some of you babies and shit. I personally understand your anticipation for this topic, backed by your enjoyment of my past content. And going forward, I now just want to focus on appreciating you all for giving me the opportunity to do what I do. Anyways, where were we? Oh yeah, the cases. Well, now you're probably saying, I saw some pretty damning coverage about Sarah in the news. Fair enough. Well, you probably noticed I left out 3 key cases in our last section. That time in 2019 when the Attorney General TJ Donovan stepped in on 3 cases Sarah dropped the charges on, due to each criminal's mentally insane defense. Well, that's because this was a huge story covered by the media ad nauseum, so I felt like its tale needed its own section. God fucking damn it. So yeah, the 3 criminals in question were Luis Fortier for murdering someone in a stabbing, Ada Garung, who killed his wife with a meat cleaver and attempted to kill his mother-in-law, and Veronica Lewis, who was accused of shooting her firearms instructor. Oh, are you still working on that video shit? By the way, you should see what they're fucking saying about you. It's really whatever, man. Besides, I got bigger shit to deal with. Aw, well, you're no fun. Bro, I'm fucking cleaning. So basically the issue was Sarah dropped the cases due to the legal defense planned against the state and offered alternative solutions, which was putting them in the hospitalization custody of the Vermont Department of Mental Health. But the governor received pressure from Vermont citizens due to the heavy media coverage on it. So he asked the Attorney General TJ Donovan to step in. Donovan then backed his decision, stating in a Vermont public interview that insanity is a legal defense, not a medical diagnosis. It should go to trial in front of a judge and jury to weigh the evidence and to make a determination. That's how our legal system works. But Sarah shot back at his statements, emphasizing that prosecutors are elected through the confidence of voters to decide the validity of the criminal's legal defense and whether they think the state can overcome them. Essentially, she's saying she didn't think the state had enough to overcome those legal defenses in those specific cases. She also cited the integrity of her judgments, offering a countermeasure through the case of Stephen Borgen, a driver who killed 5 teens on I-89 driving the wrong way. Despite his insanity defense, she filed second-degree murder charges, to which he was convicted and sentenced to prison. She felt Donovan's statements were inaccurate and that they and Governor Scott's actions undermined her integrity, the voters' confidence, and a cornerstone of the criminal justice system, aka the prosecutor's discretion. Fuck. Sorry. But Donovan also stated that he felt the violent nature of their crimes were unjust to trust in the hands of the Department of Mental Health, as they had no legal authority to keep them hospitalized once they don't meet the legal criteria for hospital care. Essentially, he didn't trust that process to reform violent criminals and feared they'd prematurely be released back onto the streets. Oh yeah, before I forget. I'll be back, guys. Oh. Hey, man. Yo. Listen, dude. I'm sorry for just... It's okay, man. I get it. Not even stressed. Just keep doing what you're doing here. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah. So, what ended up happening? Well, Donovan felt the evidence and probable cause in each case was enough to beat those insanity defenses beyond a reasonable doubt, so he refiled each case. In the case of Luis Fortier, in 2023 he pled guilty to second-degree murder and received a suspended sentence of 20 years to life with a lifetime supervision by the DOC. But interestingly enough, he is basically hospitalized indefinitely, with really no chance to leave. Which means Donovan achieved the same results 4 years later that Sarah chose. The case of Ada Garung is a little more complicated. Although he was convicted in 2023 of first-degree murder plus attempted murder and sentenced to 27 years in prison with 7 on probation, funny enough, the jury asked the court to send him to hospitalization, but they didn't have the legal authority to do that. He then decompensated so badly in jail that he was found not competent and sent back to the hospital, and now travels back and forth consistently. Because of that, his conviction is currently being appealed to the Vermont Supreme Court, which might find him serving out his sentence, hospitalized. The same conclusion Sarah advocated for.
Can you let me know what you...
Fuck! 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 You got this. Now, the last case of Veronica Lewis is an interesting one. In 2021, she took a complex plea deal on federal weapon charges that included 10 years in prison plus 40 on probation, which pulled her out of hospitalization hold for schizophrenia and PTSD and into prison. Although Donovan lauded this as a win, she proceeded to decompensate so badly in jail that she attempted to murder her cellmate, which gave her additional charges of second-degree attempted murder and 2 felony accounts of aggravated assault. It's also worth noting that awaiting her trial in Chittenden Regional Correctional Facility, she racked up 6 additional assault charges that included attacking a correctional officer and a psychiatrist. In an interview with 7 Days, Yvonne Frederickson, the cellmate that she attacked, told the paper that she's fighting for Veronica to be put in a mental institution for the rest of her life, as she doesn't want her to hurt anybody else. Although Veronica is still in jail, it's unclear whether these new charges or future actions will eventually lead to her being institutionalized or not. But it makes you wonder, is this all just going to lead to Sarah's initial conclusion again? Or was Donovan correct in his judgment? Whew. I think that's it. As a reminder. Yeah, the anchor. The fuck you boners doing? Oh yeah. Hey Mom. Yeah, sorry I've been MIA. I've just been... It's beautiful out, but I don't feel nothing from this. Okay. So, what do other attorneys and state reps think of the repeat offender problem? Well, I found this WCAX article by every 60-year-old woman from Charlotte's favorite handsome beefcake, Ike Ben David, interviewing various judicial and legislative members on the matter. So in terms of the judicial branch, the state's attorney of Grand Isle says that
it's been my experience, the majority is people just don't show up to court, and there's really no teeth to get them to show up to court.
Adding that the misdemeanor mess of piling charges and no punishment is a statewide issue.
The people, the way they treat the court system, how casual they treat it, it's getting worse. And when somebody doesn't follow the order, there needs to be a consequence.
Defense attorney Jessica Burke also adds that a lack of housing, substance abuse, and mental health issues can also keep suspects from showing, which keeps the charges racking up and can fuel their criminal behavior.
We need more services to fill the gap where incarceration sits. So right now, if we're not incarcerating someone, they have no other option but to be on the street.
All these folks in this WCAX article agree that the legislative branch of government needs to help the judicial branch by strengthening our pre-established laws. But The legislative branch claims these actions have already been done in an August 2024 session.
I think we put the tools in place. Now that we have to see how they work.
He says lawmakers strengthened laws around retail and car thefts last session, and those new rules should help cases move through the judicial system faster.
So there's multiple angles, multiple things that we've done to try to have more accountability closer to when an offense has occurred.
Adding that we, the citizens, have to wait a bit to see the difference. A difference we'll fully see once the backlog is taken care of.
Starting in January, the Department of Corrections will run a probation-type program for low-level crimes and repeat offenders. People will need to check in and comply with court orders.
That's a really critical program for the kind of individuals who are repeat offenders, who are having trouble complying with their conditions of release.
So, I guess we'll have to keep an eye out for that. So, let's focus on the police, I guess. Now, clearly we should acknowledge that... Okay. Now, clearly we should acknowledge there's some sort of beef between the police and Sarah. From her claims from certain officers either delaying in sending cases or even sending shit cases to her office. She's also highlighted a frustration in their press releases.
I never used to see the press releases the way that we do now.
Ranging from intentional negative verbiage used about her, but mainly using leading and suggestive language through their police statements on criminals that imply the police department's opinion of the criminal to the public, and how the police feel the criminal should be judged before due process, by spelling out their lengthy criminal records and instances where they've avoided incarceration, while leaving out how the legal system might have processed these cases in due process under the law to release them. So she's saying they have a bias, but she's actually not alone in thinking that. That last reason has also raised concerns from residents and city officials, which seems to have prompted Burlington Mayor Emma Mulvaney Stanek to issue an executive order to have their press releases vetted for approval by Emma's office before being posted to the media or the public to read. As her office and attorneys feel, these opinion-charged police statements could potentially taint a jury and affect a person's right to a fair trial under the Constitution.
We have a police department who puts press releases out as a full-time job, and other agencies around the state don't have comms teams. They don't have an ability to put out a press release every time there's an ag assault. And I think transparency is really important, but I think that when transparency is happening at one department out of the 100 and something we have in the state, it gives the impression something's happening here that's not happening in other areas, and that's not true. And I think that because they're putting press releases out for all of this stuff, the media covers it because they love that narrative. So I think that that is where it's harmful. It's not that they're putting them out, it's that nobody else is, despite knowing that that crime is happening in other places.
Now, with that said, there's Now, with that said, there's a decent argument that we, as the public who live around these folks, deserve to have this information. And the police who deal with these arrests on the front lines daily probably have the most knowledge and experience with these people. And to be fair, I bet you it's also frustrating to deal with the same folks over and over again while not seeing things legally happen to them in a timely fashion. And to add to that, they still state they don't have enough officers to cover the Burlington area properly. Anyways, here's something greater to contemplate. Do we as the public deserve to hear this detailed history of a person beyond the actual crime they were arrested for, maybe with less of a bias, signs of frustration, and opinions on judges' decisions? Or do they possibly taint a jury and affect a person's right to a fair trial under the Constitution? I don't know, bro. I'm kind of torn. Let's change the topic. Okay, let's change the mood for a moment by dealing with some of the funnier shit, like the jet ski stuff in 2017. All right. So, the claim online is that she stays insulated at her family's lake house in Craftsbury, on a lake her family owns that she's bullied people off of so she can jet ski in private. Well, I actually looked into this, and the lake is actually a pond, given a decent sized one. Her family only owns part of it, as there are other properties along the pond. And the jet ski is actually a paddleboard, according to her. And says this VT Digger article that claims it was actually water skiing, not a jet ski, is false. Claiming further in a Vermont Public article that it's virtually impossible to even kayak and canoe down it. So it's also impossible to have a motorboat on that pond. VT Digger, you gotta do something about that name. I feel so fucking on edge every time I say it. So, the bullying people off of it part was actually a conflict between the local residents of the pond and the Craftsbury Outdoor Center's rowing sports program, which is an Olympic Scullers development program. I know, it's the most Vermont shit ever. So, locals were frustrated that the Scullers took up the pond for 7.5 to 8.5 hours each weekday. Given how narrow the pond is and how fast moving the large rowing groups are, there wasn't enough room for the others to enjoy the pond during the day. The Scullers rowing their backs to oncoming traffic also raised safety concerns as well. Anyways, the center made accommodations, but the residents said they were bullshit, so the state jumped in to settle the dispute. Sarah, as a private citizen in this, was a representative of the residents' side, so she was the go-to person for the media on this. Anyways, the state resolved it like 8 years ago, and everybody seems fine. It'll probably be my only Craftsbury mention ever. Okay, what about the George Soros claim? Hey, why the fuck not? I'm already this effing deep. So, folks online claim that Sarah is funded by the Fair and Just organization, which is a project of the Tides Foundation, a foundation Soros donated $30 million to between 2016 and 2020. The Tides Foundation is a left-leaning nonprofit and philanthropic organization that works to advance social justice by partnering with individuals, families, foundations, and corporations to connect historically excluded groups with resources and build their capacity for change. Now, the Fair and Justice Prosecution Organization, aka the FJP, is basically a national network of elected local prosecutors who share a vision of transforming the criminal legal system. Now, Sarah was featured on their website in 2022 on their Meet the Movement series, discussing her background and goals as a prosecutor. But much like this Vermont Chronicle article, and don't get me fucking started on them, two of the reporters have a fucking podcast about the government controlling weather, so, much like them, we both couldn't find direct evidence of her ever receiving financial compensation from the FJP. Now, she's definitely attended FJP junkets, which are basically like prosecutor conventions to network and share ideas in a semi-vacation situation like in New York or LA or Portugal. Folks are concerned they are supposedly all expenses paid for conventions. Yeah, the only two sources I could find for them being fully paid was, number one, from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, which funds the legal defense for law enforcement agents prosecuted or fired for actions while in the line of duty that, upon further inspection, really doesn't fuck with left-leaning politics. The other source was the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's right-leaning publication that also really doesn't fuck with left-leaning politics. Both definitely have an opinion-based agenda against the left, so I asked for her side as well. She says she's not funded by the FJP, but she does get invited to those things, saying it's a good opportunity to gain experience from tenured prosecutors to progress her own skills. So is she benefiting from George Soros directly? Well, she got to meet people and further her craft at a like-minded networking convention put on by a foundation not directly owned by Soros, but has received substantial funding from him. Also potentially on the FJP's dime. So I'd say, in a way, yeah, sounds like your typical political bullshit game that every politician likes to play. Now, is she directly funded by Soros to carry out his mission of liberal dominance? I didn't find any evidence, but he's probably happy with what that org does. And it seems like Sarah likes what that org does, so probably just politically aligned. Who knows, man? That dude's also like 93 now and apparently senile. So at this point, he's probably just happy when he goes a full day not shitting his fucking pants. The fuck? Hello? Who's this? Oh, yeah, I can talk. Huh? But, no, I understand. Yes, I hear you loud and clear. Okay. Bye. What the fuck, man? That was unnecessary. I'm going fucking crazy. I think it's time to bring in a little bit of help. Hey, thanks again for talking, Mom. I appreciate it. Oh, and thanks for the recommendations. I'm gonna get started on them ASAP. Yes, the video's almost done. Okay. Love you too. Bye. Hey, what's going on? So to recap, we've learned how the legal system works. We've fact-checked her cases, learned how to fact-check her future cases. We've heard what the public thinks about her, know relatively what the police think, and we've seen what the media has to say. So for the sake of my own curiosity and to provide a balance of opinions, what does she think? And more specifically, what does Sarah think about this claim of her catching and releasing people?
Well, one, is no such policy. Catch and release is a tagline that gets used all the time. It's not actually a thing. My office does not have a single policy around catch and release. It stems from a pretty intentional campaign of disinformation in our community that was coming from cops initially. It came from my opponent a lot last year during the campaign. Once that sort of wildfire started to spread, it just only got more and more momentum. I think that the moment I was titled a progressive prosecutor, every sort of right-wing tagline that goes with that has been targeted towards me. It hasn't really mattered what my policies are or policies aren't.
Well, Johnny, that concludes this week's session, but I want you to keep working on those things that we've talked about.
Thank you. This has been extremely helpful. I'll see you next week. Now, she mentioned disinformation coming from some officers, but more specifically her opponent from the state's attorney election from the summer of 2022, who spent a majority of his campaign focusing on blaming her progressive stances for the uptick of crime the previous couple of years. What's interesting is his campaign with this sentiment ran in the summer of 2022 and concluded in August, 1 month before the courts opened up again in September 2022, after being closed for over 2 years from COVID and amassing a huge backlog that Sarah wasn't able to process in said courts. Another interesting thing to note is that when you start Googling the online criticisms of her, they really pick up in 2022, which is definitely around the time I first heard of her myself, and I bet a lot of you as well.
Once that sort of wildfire started to spread, it just only got more and more momentum.
So I was curious. Had he won, he would have had to deal with the same laws and backlog impeding him. right? I mentioned this to Sarah, and she actually told me.
He was making statements during the campaign that were not legal. He was saying that he would do particular things that are not legal.
Like what?
Like holding people on particular conditions of release, or holding people in jail, or holding people on bail, those types of things that are actually not legally allowed.
He was claiming he'd have the power to hold criminals with misdemeanors and repeat low-level offenses in jail to await their trial. But as we've all learned,
judges make all of the decisions about conditions in police or bail.
And the state's attorney can only advocate for the hold to the judges. But again, it has to fall under that Title 13 law, which the crimes he was mentioning did not. Now I was curious how this wave of hate has impeded her office, professionally with the case volume, but also personally.
Professionally, I have a staff that is working crazy hours every week, that are making shit for money with crazy student loan debt, with 250 to 400 cases at a time, often working 2 jobs, that are hearing in our community that they're not doing anything. I feel like I spend a lot of time just attempting to encourage my staff to keep going, to ignore the noise and just do what we can, and to know that we're doing it for the right reasons, and that, you know, we are actually prosecuting people. I also have a full caseload. I have 267 cases, I believe. It takes away from that. I'm answering emails constantly. I'm having to report threats constantly to our security, to our state management people. I believe I have more threats than the governor at this point.
You're getting death threats over this?
Death threats. It's usually about raping and torturing, and I have to report those. It takes me away from doing the actual job that I'm trying to do.
Because you're not solving violent crimes, I'm going to do a violent crime towards you.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to I had this whole Instagram page about how Burlington looks a particular way, and then I'm gonna put that on t-shirts, sell it for money.
Did you pick one up with your own name on it?
I thought about it.
Like, I don't know, it's kind of a moment, right? Where you're like, wow, someone's selling a hate shirt about me.
Yeah, it has definitely impacted me personally and professionally. I feel far less safe, and the irony of that isn't because of the people that I prosecute for murder and for rape. It's not coming from them, which I also deal with, but the majority of it has been coming from people who believe this stuff.
This made me wonder if she's attempted to engage with people sending hate, either with emailing her or tagging her on social medias, as she's quite infamous for being silent publicly online.
I've tried before. I've spent a lot of time responding to people, and sometimes it's worth it. If people email me at my work email, I'd respond. I'm not getting into that world on Instagram. Many people that I don't even know if they live here, when somebody's like, I hope that your whole family dies and, you know, you get raped, it's like, I don't really know how much constructive conversation you can have with those people.
Fresh Wanzer thread. So, throughout my research, I noticed a big source of people tagging her was on the Burlington Looks Like Shit account, which I covered in a previous video. Beyond the majority of one-liner comments wishing for her demise, I noticed the comments and even the admin asking her about specific people and cases. So I asked her if she ever looked into those cases after being tagged there.
I have. So when I first started getting tagged, it was early on. The page didn't have a ton of followers at that point, but the stuff that was being said was certainly concerning. Some of it I just knew wasn't going to be true because it's not how the system works, but others that would say that our office refused to prosecute this particular person or this incident. That's something we could do, and so I wanted to look into it and make sure that wasn't accurate. Every single time I would spend the time looking up the person, trying to find the case. I would figured out in every single case that it wasn't true.
So basically doom scrolling for a state's eternity.
Yeah, it really was. And I'm realizing after maybe the 10th one that I'm doing exactly what they wanted me to do. Waste all of this time maybe looking into this case to find out that the person they said we refused to prosecute, we actually never got paperwork from law enforcement. We never even got the case to refuse to prosecute it. Or saying that I released somebody that I actually knew I had advocated to be held without bail. And in one case, the court agreed and held the person without bail, but this account said that they were out free. So some of it was just blatant lies. Actually, I mean, all of it was blatant lies, but some of it was like the opposite was true. I'm a people pleaser to some extent. I care about people a lot. I care about this community a lot. And so having accounts that seem pretty intent on lying about me and spreading like fear in our community and hate in our community and divisiveness in our community, I struggle a lot with that. I want to go in and just like for every single one, like correct the record, right? But I just don't have the time and I don't have the mental health capacity. So I had to log out of that account because I was getting tagged in like 100 posts a day and just the most awful things in my DMs, and it just wasn't worth it anymore.
As you all know my opinion on that Instagram page, I was curious about hers, and if she thought an account like that was a good tool for community awareness.
I think that they are poverty porn. I think they're lacking in any real information that is helpful for our community. I think they are dividing us as a community on the backs of people that are struggling and suffering massively. I think they're disgusting, and I think that they're making our community more hateful and getting us further and further from an actual solution that will work. It certainly exacerbates how people think about Burlington. I think it makes people feel a particular way about Burlington. They're not posting all of the good things happening in our community as well. If they really wanted to like make sure people knew what was happening, they would do both, and they don't. They only do the bad, or they only do the ugly, or they only do the sad. That is something that exists in our community and it has to be addressed, but it is not our community as a whole. And so I don't think it does anything helpful for us to do it in the way that they do and to seemingly not be seeking any actual solutions other than just blaming people.
Now, the admin and his followers argue that amalgamating user-submitted videos of crimes like this is the most effective way to get politicians' attention for change. Since she's the most tagged politician there by a long shot, I wondered if she thought this tool has been effective for her or could be effective.
If they were just posts with no commentary, that might have a little bit more credibility. But when it's a post and then a commentary that is divisive and completely void of any facts, that to me loses all credibility. But that's not actually what you're doing. You're trying to feed your own agenda and push your own agenda through other people's poverty and pain.
All right, Johnny. Well, that concludes another excellent session. You're making some great progress.
Thanks. I appreciate hearing that.
Well, you keep at it and you're going to get to exactly where you need to be very soon.
While people blame her for the current hellscape of Burlington, I wondered what she thought of its current state.
I think that Burlington is experiencing what the rest of the state is experiencing, and frankly, a lot of the country, and that we have a massive housing crisis that happened during COVID when our housing market just exploded and it pushed out low-income folks into our streets. And it, again, is happening all over the state. I'm seeing homeless people in cities around the state, towns and cities I've never seen. In Windsor, I've seen it in St. Johnsbury. I saw it in Newport.
And you've grown up here.
Yes. The more we act like this is a Burlington problem, especially given what's happening in Montpelier, we're going to get less and less help to deal with it if we don't address it as a statewide issue. There are some crimes that we've seen a rise in, again, around the state, not just in Burlington, specifically car thefts. That's a crime that we really never saw a lot before a couple of years ago. What we are seeing is that people are stealing cars to sleep in them and to live in them. And then when they get caught, the car gets returned, very rarely with any damage, but full of needles and junk. To me, that rise in a particular kind of crime, but then figuring out why people are doing it is a really important factor.
What you doing, man? I'm, drawn. No shit. I thought you retired from all that stuff. Well, there's something I feel compelled to make. So since she's never made a public statement about this wave of hate, I wanted to close this interview out by asking her what she would personally want to say to everyone about this wave of hate, her tainted reputation, and overall concluding thoughts on the matter.
I just wish that people would think more critically about these issues, not hear something and just believe it and then spread it. One of my deputies works at somebody said that our office doesn't prosecute retail thefts for under $2,000. And this deputy was like, that's not true. Where did you hear that? And she's like, oh, I don't know. A friend of mine told me. And I've been telling people that. Where do people come up with this stuff and then have the audacity to just spread it. I just think it's so harmful. And then when she said that's not true at all, we prosecute all retail thefts. We have hundreds and hundreds pending. It's like, oh, well, why did somebody say that? And I think people start to feel a little like taken advantage of or something. I don't know, like they got duped. Joe will probably tell you this, but he said somebody reached out to him and apologized and was like, now that I'm out of it, I feel like I was brainwashed. And he had said something really awful to Joe and like apologized. And like, I think that is exactly what's happening, is people are being brainwashed. And then when they get on the other side of it, when I tell them like, nope, actually this is this, and they're like, oh, and they get kind of angry.
What would you say to people who are watching this that still choose not to believe you because they don't trust you?
If you hear facts from me that are public, I am a public records office, you know? I mean, the work that I am doing is public. You can go into the Costello Courthouse on Cherry Street any day and see all the cases being prosecuted. You can see me in court prosecuting cases and advocating for particular things. If you don't want to do that, there isn't really much else I can do. Try to do that. Try to find some independent verification other than what you're seeing in the media or on social media. Look up the case online, go into the courthouse, ask for the case packet. They're all public.
An independent verification, like maybe from an independent video content creator online, maybe?
Maybe.
Now obviously I'm joking, and like I've said before, I encourage you to use all the resources I told you. Don't ever use me or any content creator online as your sole source, only as a starting point or a guide. So yeah, that's basically it. Oh wow, it's beautiful outside. Yo! Oh, what's up, man? That's it? So, what's your conclusion? Oh, yeah. I wasn't gonna do that. You're not still letting people's opinions get to you, right? You know, you're right, man. None of that shit has really mattered to me anymore. So? Do the shit us real ones like you for. The shit you love doing. The reason you do any of this shit. Because you're crazy and I love to run my mouth. Exactly. And I guess all the creative fulfillment shit that gives your life purpose too. Whatever. Huh. Well? Yeah. Okay. I think people see our little city changing. The quiet, safe, hippie-centric streets they remember fondly from their youth, abundant with shops for locals and cringe street performers, are now covered with needles and excess homeless people screaming at their demons in front of abandoned storefronts. It upsets people. It scares them. It's foreign. We're not used to this shit. So that fear and frustration ignites an anger within folks. What did this to my town? Who did this to my town? That mix of emotions thirsts for an answer, and while the ingredients for a gross-ass gray area health smoothie filled with the answers of many different factors is just sitting in your fridge waiting for you to make it, that emotional thirst is more easily enticed and quickly satisfied by a store-bought, sugar-filled, caffeinated beverage, a scapegoat. And I get it. Who the fuck has the time to research this shit, let alone watch a 2-hour video, when an easier quench to that thirst exists in the volume of echoed 2-sentence statements from strangers? That's good enough for me. I'm too busy dealing with my own shit. Well, somehow, you're here now. You literally followed me through that research, and from that, I see a lot of moving parts to blame, but not really one easy scapegoat. We learned the entirety of the legal system and discovered a state law made by legislators dictates most of the pre-trial releases of non-violent criminals before the Constitution's due process locks them up. We learned judges operating within the guidelines of that Title 13 law dictate who's locked up waiting for trial, while the SOA can only advocate to said judges. We fact-checked who the public thought were the most egregious criminals and found out either most were locked up, processed, or awaiting trials locked up. We also discovered a backed up legal system caused by COVID closing the courts for 2 years, with a bare bones staff lacking the resource to process them fast enough. Now, with that said, there's a legit reason you can criticize Sarah. If she offered a sentence within the confines of the law that could have been legally heavier where she was provided enough evidence to charge heavier, then critique away. You may not agree that some of these treatment sentences are adequate consequences, and that's fair. But if you do, I implore you to look for examples where that treatment sentence didn't work. And also, don't forget how those Attorney General cases resolved beyond Sarah. Back to generally criticizing her. If you feel like her sentence should have been something that was not within the law, then you should be frustrated with the laws, with your state rep, with your nationally elected officials, and sometimes with the big boy Constitution and its amendments itself. Now, whether the police have it out for her like she claims or vice versa, it was difficult to corroborate that myself, so it's on you to decide. But I'd totally be open and interested to talking to a Burlington police officer in a future episode. And listen, I still don't fucking care about lawyers, politicians, or courts. But I listened to her, and I'd listen to you too. And I don't give a fuck if my audience cares or not. Now, when it comes to the general public's fervor surrounding catch and release, I think some folks are confused about the laws surrounding citations versus being held, and confused about how the legal system generally works. At least that's what I saw from my perspective. I think some people who aren't politically aligned with Sarah have used this confusion to create noise, impede her work, and muddy her reputation a bit in order to vote her out of office. While there's no definitive proof of this, that's what I feel and gathered from the timeline we all built and the general journey we took researching this. As a side note, there's actually a trend growing around the country where people who are generally right-leaning are actually attacking judges and state attorneys and attacking due process itself. And I feel like we're seeing that trend come here to our own hometown. Now, I don't think everybody talking shit about her has bad intentions or an agenda, but some definitely do. And I implore you to use some critical thinking towards the people you see saying shit. While they could be some vengeful burner account out for blood, or a Russian bot just saying shit, you might just find them to be that frustrated, fearfully confused Vermonter who just misses their old hometown. And with that, I'm done. Wait. I'm done. I'm done. Holy shit. I'm done. Guys. Yo, I'm finally done. Holy shit. I feel so relieved. Fuck. Yeah, we're all relieved this shit's finally wrapping up. Okay, so, what do you guys think? Yeah, definitely didn't need all those fucking disclaimers at the beginning. Yeah, and the crying shit, cringe as fuck, Jesus Christ. Oh. I guess I was just worried about how you guys would perceive this. Oh, don't worry, man. You'll always suck donkey dick in my eyes. But you know, we're always gonna drive you to put out your best shit. Wait. Oh, God. You guys were my inner monologue clashing this whole time? Hey! Jesus, that's the reveal? That fucking sucks. Oh, creatively bankrupt. So, I've been talking to myself this whole time? Yeah, dude, you're going fucking crazy. How long have I been inside? Oh, a real long time. Yeah, everyone online thinks you're a fucking villain now. It's absolutely hilarious. What the fuck ever. Right, guys? Guys?
Once there was a way to get back homeward. Once there was a way to get back home. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Golden slumbers fill your eyes. will sing a lullaby.
I think I'm gonna go outside. Oh shit, I almost forgot. From the dining room, I'm Jonny Wanzer, and I'll see you outside.
Good luck.
Follow me. Johnny, 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 whoops, Johnny, whoops, Johnny, 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 Johnny. Johnny, 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 Johnny. And when it finally hit, I had to let the right one in. And there was something about this Johnny that seemed different from the rest. Johnny, 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 I just wanna be your girl. I do, I do, I do. Johnny, Johnny, all you gotta do is say the word. I'll do anything for you. Johnny, 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 I just wanna be your girl. I do, I do, I do. Johnny, Johnny, all you gotta do is say my word. I'll do anything for you. Oh, Johnny, I really thought I loved you.
This is a really important one, actually, that I'm really surprised that I glossed over here. Is Rutland South or Central Vermont?
Oh, shit, I remember your thing on this. Thing of which, so I'm from Hartford, and I view Hartford as central, and Rutland is pretty even.
Interesting.
I would say central.
Have you seen this Rutland Monopoly box that was just released in the Walmart? On this? In Rutland, they got this thing called Rutland Monopoly, but on the box, it says something like your gateway to Southern Vermont.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
And that's where you stand?
The Walmart Rutland Rutlandopoly, that I can't ever say that word without losing it. Rutland Monopoly has said that you're Southern, and that's in your Walmart, which I feel like is your town capital, right? I don't know if you have a mayor. I don't know if you guys can afford one, but that's your mayor basically saying that you're Southern. So I'm sorry that you're actually wrong on that. And I might actually be joining the haters on the Instagram now. Shit.